I am indigenous.
I am Black.
I'm Filipino.
I am a Muslim.
I am Scottish.
I'm an Italian.
I am a Latina.
I am a woman.
I am a woman.
I'm a woman. I happen to be a transgender woman, but I'm a woman. From the age of about 4 or 5, I knew that I had these feelings. I had thoughts and fantasies about wanting to be a girl that I knew were totally unacceptable and beyond the pale. And so I suppressed them from a very early age. I lived my life as this hyper-masculine man. I absorbed buckets of white male privilege. And then I came out and I saw the other side of it. You know, I came out at 50. And I became essentially this new person, transferred into a new field. And I had to take a sort of more entry-level job than I was used to. I was out to my employers and to my coworkers from day one. The harder thing for me, and I think for a lot of people, is this area of microaggressions where you're boxing and punching at shadows. And it's difficult because people are operating with some degree of ambiguity. And it's not ambiguous when you see an entire pattern of it and it's, you know, several people in an office treating you really, you know, in slightly nasty ways all the time.
Inclusion isn't that superficial, in my opinion. Mankind is a word, in my opinion, as a woman, it doesn't offend me because I feel like that's the one word that has been designated to include everyone. I personally don't get offended by it being called mankind versus womankind or every kind. How does it make you feel?
You know, it's not the hill I want to die on in terms of inclusivity, to say particularly about mankind. But for instance, I think it's really important to put your pronouns on your emails because, first of all, that helps a lot of people who might have gender neutral names and can sort of help out. But it also is, you know, when you choose to do that, you're sending a signal that you sort of understand that it's almost a privilege to not have people misassign your gender all the time, and that it's very tough. And you know, it tells people like me that there's somebody there who kind of gets it and is trying. Yeah, I think affinity groups, I've sometimes heard them called, you know, and I know I've been in organizations that have had them not since coming out. It would, I think, be very helpful. Like I would like to participate in one that, just like you said, you know, I participate in lots of groups and social organizations and political organizations that support the LGBT community. But I think having one within the organization, and I know some organizations have done that, I think that's incredibly helpful. And one of the things that allows to happen is, I think, you know, when people that are part of a marginalized groups can get together, it becomes easier for them to speak up and understand and then give voice to the problems they're facing. It's a lot harder to do it as an individual when you're isolated. So if you're serious about wanting to create a more inclusive culture, I think you ought to find some, and you can't just assume that, oh, well, you know, Stephanie's trans or, you know, what have you, and just go to that person and say, well, we want you to run this. But asking somebody who seems to have leadership and acumen for this sort of thing, if they would be interested in, with your support, forming, you know, a group that can help mentor, help us review our personnel policies, help us review our grooming standards to make sure that we're accessible. I think that's really helpful.
I love what you said about inclusion and you know, making people feel like they are comfortable in the workplace by having, let's say, like, you know, LGBT, you know, employee groups or Asian American employee groups, so you don't feel like you're just the individual. So I think more groups like that would, in the workforce, would definitely be a progressive, positive change. I want to be part of any company that's starting to do that. That sounds wonderful.